In Lesson 3.1, What's My Rule?, we're going to review the function machine. Here you see a function machine. A number goes in, which is called the input. It's dropped into the function machine. The machine changes the number according to the rule. In this case, the rule is multiplied by 50. And then the number comes out. It's called the output. The rule for this function machine is multiplied by 50. Each person in the United States uses about 50 gallons of water each day. Use this information to complete the table. So if we think about 2 days of water usage, we would take 2 times 50. For the next one, we would take 6 times 50 to get 300. If we were looking at 10 days of usage, we would take 10 times 50 equals 500. 30 days times 50 equals 1,500 gallons of usage. And an entire year, which is 365 days, times 50 is 18,250 gallons of water per person per year. Wow, that's a lot of water usage. In this function machine, what I would consider probably the most basic, the rule and inputs are known for you. You must determine the outputs. So the rule is subtract 15. The input is 30. 30 minus 15 is 15. The second one, 90 goes in. You subtract 15, 75 comes out. 65 goes in, and maybe you're not one that can do that in your head. So then what you would do is you would go ahead and figure out what is 65 minus 15. You would show your work, and out would come 50. Now on your whiteboard, I want you to put the video on pause. I want you to do input is 110, what comes out? So stop the video, and on your whiteboard, teacher will be walking around. You don't need to show your teacher, but go ahead and work it out and put the output on your whiteboard. The answer is 95. 110 minus 15 gives you 95. In this function machine, we know the rule. So if we take a look at that, the rule is 100, add 100, and we know the outputs. So what we need to do is we need to figure out the input. So this time, since we are working the opposite direction, we're going to do the opposite operation than adding 100, which is subtracting 100. So in this case, I would take 350. Since I'm moving from the answer to figuring out what was put in, I'm going to subtract 100. So this case, this answer would be 250. For the next one, out came 120. So again, I'm going to do the opposite operation, and I'm going to subtract 100. So what went in was 20. I would do the same thing for 665. Since I'm moving the opposite direction, instead of adding 100, I'm going to subtract 100. And I would get 565. Please put your video on pause and figure out the last one. What went in so that when 100 was added to it, 421 came out. So in this case, on your whiteboard, please show me the input. Go ahead and put your video on hold. Now, if you did that one, you would get 321 as the input. Sometimes we have function machines where we know the input and the output. We need to figure the rule out. So in this function machine, 7 was put in, 49 came out. 2 was put in, 14 came out. 9 is the input, 63 is the output. 10 is the input, 70 is the output. Whatever works for one has to work for all of the others. So in this case, 7 7 times 7 equals 49. 2 times 7 equals 14. 9 times 7 equals 63. And 10 times 7 equals 70. Notice it has to work for all of them. In the function machine shown here, this is where you will know some inputs and outputs. There'll be some missing, and you don't have the rule either. This one probably requires the most thinking. So in this case, I might want to start with the very first one or this one. Usually there are two that are complete. So if I look at 54, and if I subtract 9, I can figure out what happened there. This is what kids usually start doing. And they say the answer is 45, but remember, it has to fit all of them. And we know that 24 minus 4 is not 45, so that does not work. So what I have to think is, what other way can we decrease a number other than subtracting? It would be division. So I would take and think 54 divided by 9 equals what? Well, it equals 6. If you need to get out your multiplication chart, go ahead and stop the video now and get out your multiplication chart, or look inside of your math journal. I also want to look at 24 divided by 4 and see if that equals 6. And it does. So the answer to the rule must be divided by 6. The numbers get smaller, so I know it is either subtraction or division. So now I would go ahead and fill in the remaining. 42 divided by 6 is 7. So I need to fill in the missing outputs. Go ahead and pause the video at this time, and then on your whiteboard you're going to put in the two missing numbers. You'll have to figure out what this output is and what this input is. Go ahead and just write it on your whiteboard. Your teacher will be walking around. You do not need to show your teacher though. Put it on pause. The answer should be 42 divided by 6 is 7. And in this case, since we're working the opposite direction, instead of dividing by 6, we're going to multiply by 6. 6 times 6 is 36. Now I'd like you to go ahead and practice some of these input-output charts on journal page 53. Please make sure you look at your packet, as we are not having you do the very bottom of the page.